Hello everyone, I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thanks for stopping by. Now today I'm doing the Love from Lizzie 10 Cards 1 Kit video using the March 2018 kit. So we're just going to jump in with card number 1. Now I cut out a panel using these cut aparts here from the 12 by 12 cut apart sheet. And I did notice that the images were doubled, and so I cut out one panel and then I'm going to take the image that was inside that panel and fussy cut around it. Now to just embellish it a little bit, I'm using some of the pink ribbon that came in the kit, and I'm going to tie a bow around the little candy dish. Now I did use vintage photo around the edges of both of these just to give it a more finished look. But I'm just going to pop up the candy jar that I fussy cut out and place that right on top of the one that's on the panel. I think these panels were so pretty, and I love the way that turned out. Now next I cut out a panel with the pattern paper there, and then also a smaller one with the pink pearlescent cardstock. And I'm planning on putting my elements right there. I am going to take a little bit more vintage photo and go around the top part that I cut down so it fit on those two panels there. Now for my sentiment for this card, I decided to use the Enjoy. This is a real pretty acetate sentiment that has gold embossing. So I thought it'd look really pretty right below the candy dish there. And I'm just using my multimedia mat to secure it. Lovely. I did pop up the pearlescent cardstock. And then I'm going to flip this over, and just using my tape runner, I'm going to adhere it to a standard A2 size card base. My card base for this card is one I pulled from my stash. It's a very vanilla, so it's a real pretty cream color, and I thought it went really good with that cutout. But that completes card number 1. I think it turned out so vintage candy shop looking. So let's move along to card number 2. And I'm sorry about my lighting. It's been so dreary here, so I can't get really good lighting. Sorry about that, guys. But for card number 2, I'm going to stamp 3 of the 3 cupcakes that are in the stamp set. But instead of using my Memento Tuxedo Black ink, I decided to stamp them with my Rich Cocoa ink. So it's a Memento Rich Cocoa ink, and I think that looks really nice. I just used my Copic markers to color these guys in, using some pinks and browns and greens, kind of the same color palette that's in the kit. Now I'm going to fussy cut these images out, and then once we have that done, I'm going to grab some pattern paper here. Now I cut out a strip of the striped pattern paper, and I'm going to adhere it to the real soft pink pattern paper, and then I'm taking a stitched rectangle die, and I'm going to cut out both of those together. Just going to run that through my Big Shot. I'm adding some foam squares behind my little cupcakes and placing them 3 in a row, and I think they look so cute. Now to give this little panel a little bit of shimmer, I'm going to go in with the chocolate brown peel-offs that came in the kit. I added one at the seam, and then I also decided there's some brown stripes in that pattern paper on the bottom. So I'm just taking a thinner peel off, and then I'm going to go over the brown stripes just to give it a little bit of shimmer. Okay, trimming off that bottom part there. Lovely. Now for the sentiment. Okay, you're going to probably think I'm crazy. But Lizzie's kit came with a paper wrapped wire, a brown paper wrapped wire. And I kept thinking, well, what can I do with this? And so I thought, well, this would make a great sentiment. So I'm just kind of going to twist it around to create the word sweet. It was actually pretty easy to do. I just swirled the S and then kind of just made the W and then double looped for the E's. And I think it turned out really neat. This would be actually probably more easier to do the word hello, but sweet turned out okay. And then I'm just going to cross my T on the end and loop it, and then take my scissors and just trim that wire. And I think that turned out really fun. Now, it was a little bit wonky to put on that panel. So what I thought it'd be neat to do, and if it would work, I'm going to run it through my Big Shot. And actually, it worked out fantastic. It really flattened it and made it really easy for me to glue down to my my panel. So there's my word suite. There's my sentiment for this card. My wonky suite. I just adhered it with multimedia matte, and then for a little bit more shimmer, I went in with some Nuvo crystal drops. These were White Blizzard. And that's my card number 2. I love the sweet theme of this kit. I thought it was so fun. Here's a close-up. Okay, now for card number 3, I'm going to use this specialty cardstock that came in the kit. It's the pearlescent brown one, and I'm going to trim it down to create a panel. The panel will be about 3/4 inches smaller than my card base. For my card base for this card, I'm going to use the Very Vanilla also. And so I'm just going to adhere that directly on my card base, right in the center. Once we have that done, I wanted to use this little cake. So I'm just going to fussy cut it out. And then to finish the edges, I went around with some vintage photo distressing. And then I'm going to stamp the sentiment directly on my little cake. Lovely. I like it. It says treat yourself. Now I'm going to flip this over and add some dimensional adhesive behind there. And then I'm also going to create a fishtail banner using this pattern paper. I'm just trimming it down to 2-inch strip and fishtail the very bottom part of it. And then I'm going to flip it over, and then I'm going to pop that up with some foam tape and place that on my card base. Once we have that done, I took a piece of the vellum cutouts, and I wanted to cut out that heart, but my die was just a little bit too big, so I used a size smaller and cut out a piece of vellum, creating a little heart. I placed that on my banner with my cake right on top, and then for a little bit of embellishment, I'm taking one of the wooden buttons that came in the kit, and I'm threading it with some black twine. I just tied a bow, and then I'm going to secure it right next to my cake using a glue dot. And then that completes card number 3. That was my chocolate card. Here's a close-up. Okay, now we're going to move along to card number 4. I'm going to cut out this this little circle panel here. I'm just going to fussy cut around those flowers as well. Okay, once that's done, I'm going to take the cupcake that has the little berries on it, and I'm going to stamp that with my Memento Tuxedo Black ink. And then I skipped the coloring, but I did color them in with my Copic markers, using the same colors I did earlier that kind of coordinate with the pinks and the greens and the browns. Now I'm going to create a panel using this pattern paper, and I'm going to directly adhere that to my black card base, right in the center there. And that I'm gonna place that there, but we need a sentiment. So this is also one of the cutout sheets that has a little banner down there. This sentiment will fit perfectly right on the inside, and I didn't center it. I wanted to eventually add some ribbon, but I thought it was a little too busy. But if you plan on casing the card, I would center your sentiment on here. I think it would look a little bit nicer. But I'm just going to trim around it, and then I'm going to add some foam squares behind it. Well, let's trim this down and then pop that circle up with some foam tape. And then I just added my banner and my 2 little cupcakes, And for bells and whistles, I'm using the crystal drops that came in the kit. Adding a little bit of sparkle with the Spectrum Noir sparkle pen. And that's it for that card. A party without a cake is just a meeting. I thought that was so cute. Okay, now for card number 5, I'm taking these dies that came in Lizzie's kit. There's 3 of them, and so I just kind of clustered them together, and I cut them out using the matte, kind of a soft gold specialty cardstock that came in the kit. I'm going to add some foam tape behind that panel, and then place that on the same size panel that I cut out using the floral pattern paper. So that's the background there. Once we have that done, I grabbed the For You, and then I just glued it down right on top with my multimedia mat. And then I'm going to take my tape runner and just adhere that to my card base. My card base for this one is another Very Vanilla A2 size card base. And then for bells and whistles, I wanted to use some of the pearly colored larger sequins that came in the mix. I just added a few here and there, and then that completes that card. That's a versatile card, I think. Here's a close-up. Okay, now moving along to card number 6. I used the green and the pink floral pattern paper. I cut out 2 scalloped edges, and I'm going to place each of the scallop edges to the left and right of this striped pattern paper. And you can see I cut out 2 little circles too. These are 1-inch circles. I just used my stitched circle dies. Once that panel's done, I'm going to add some glue to the top of the circles, and then grab my little sequin dish, and I'm going to smush some sequins right in the center of those circles. This was one of those cards where I had to use, my mind was going, and I wanted to use those popsicle sticks. So I decided this is actually the plastic that came out from the stickers. So I'm just cutting out 2 pieces, and what I'm going to do is place some foam tape behind those circles, place the circles upside down in the center of those plastic sheets, add the popsicle sticks, and then flip that plastic over, and then kind of wrap that plastic around the popsicle stick. I wanted to create 2 little fun little suckers here. I added the cream colored ribbon, tied a bow, and I just trimmed down a little bit of that plastic, and I thought that created 2 little fun elements for my card. Now this is a really bulky, you probably can't tell in the video, but it's very bulky, so extra postage would probably be required if you're planning on mailing this, but the outcome was so cute, and I really wanted to use those popsicle sticks. Now to secure these sticks to my panel, I'm using some score tape. I'm just going down the popsicle stick and along the back of that plastic. Score tape is a super strong tape, and it worked really well securing those to my panel. And I think that turned out so fun. Once that's done, we need a sentiment. So we're going to end up popping that up with foam tape, adding a little more dimension, and placing that on a vanilla card base. Now I'm taking one of the vellum sheets. This vellum sheet says Sweet Life, and I cut out the Sweet Life banner, and then just to make it a little bit more vivid, I put it behind a piece of some Very Vanilla cardstock, and then I'm just adding some foam tape behind the sentiment, and I'm going to place that towards the bottom of my panel. Just using some foam tape here. I'm going to add my sweet. I'm going to add a little bit more foam tape on the right under that T. The sticks were a little bit bulky, so lovely. And then we're going to add our life, and that completes that card. Very different, very fun card to make though. Okay, now we're going to move along. For my next card, I cut out a frame. Now this frame is actually going to be the same size as my card base, so it's going to fit right to the edge of a card base. My card base for this card is going to be a white card base. Now, once we have that done, I'm going to take a piece of the vellum, actually no, pattern paper. I wanted to use some more of this pink pattern paper, so I'm going to cut out a thin strip and place that on the bottom of my frame. I just used my tape runner to adhere it to the back. I didn't press down all the way because I wanted to tuck this vellum piece on top of that pattern paper. I'm just going to tuck it behind the frame and press so it sticks, and I think that rose is so pretty. Now I'm grabbing my craft pick and I'm going to take 2 of the brads that came in the kit. These are brass colored and they match the vellum just perfectly. So I'm just going to poke 2 holes over here to the left of my panel and add 2 of the brads. Now once I have my brads pressed down there, I'm going to add some foam tape behind that panel and lift it up a little bit, and then place that on directly on my card base. Well, I guess I didn't do that yet. Well, I needed a sentiment. So this is a thank you die from Pretty Pink Posh. I'm just going to use some white cardstock and cut out the word thank you. And then just using my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive, I'm going to adhere my thank you to my little panel there. Once we have that done, here's where I flipped it over and I want to add foam tape behind around my panel there. And then I'm just going to adhere that to my card base. And that completes that card. I think that will turn out so soft and so pretty. Okay, now moving along to card number 8. I wanted to use the little ice cream bowl here. So I'm going to stamp it using some Memento Rich Cocoa ink. I really like the chocolate colored ink with these images. I felt it went really good with the pattern paper. I'm going to stamp that on a piece of white cardstock and color it in with my Copic markers. Now these ones I decided to go chocolate. So my little ice cream scoops have chocolate fudge dripping and my bowl's pink. I decided to go in with my white gel pen and add some little white sprinkles on top of my sundae there. I think that looks so cute. Now I'm going to use this piece of vellum, but I just want the frame, so I'm just taking my scissors and I'm fussy cutting around this vellum piece. I really like this frame here. Okay. Once we have that done, this is actually the textured white cardstock that came in Lizzie's kit as part of the specialty cardstock. I'm going to cut out a panel, and then I'm going to go in right in the center of this panel with my Distress Oxide ink. This is Vintage Photo. I just wanted a little bit of a brown shadow to fit right behind my frame and my ice cream, and I think that turned out so pretty. I actually think this is probably my favorite, well, my favorite card that I made. I'm going to pop up my ice cream with some foam squares and place that in the center on the vellum. Okay, now we need a sentiment, so I'm going to use the leftover piece of that textured paper. And I was going to go ahead and adhere that to my panel, but decided I wanted to add a little bit more foam tape. So I'm putting the backing of my foam squares back on there. Okay, for my sentiment for this card, I thought it would be perfect to go ahead and add the sentiment that says, "You are the sweetest." I'm going to stamp that, and then in my stash I also have a stitched banner die that has fishtail on both ends. I'm just going to cut out my sentiment. Okay, now I'm going to add some foam squares behind this, and then I'm going to stick that right underneath my ice cream bowl. Once I have that centered, I'm going to flip over my vellum piece, and then this is, the sentiment actually gives me a little bit more area to put some foam tape. So now I'm going to remove all the backing and place that in the center of my distressed panel there. And then for this, okay, now we're going to move along to card number 9. Card number 9, I'm going to fussy cut out this little cake on a pedestal here. And then I'm also going to use this green pattern paper. I'm going to create a shaker card for this this card. And so I'm taking 2 of my stitched rectangle dies, placing them together on this pattern paper, and I'm going to cut out a frame. And then I also cut out the largest, the outside edge of the frame with white cardstock. I'm going to add a piece of acetate, just using my tape runner. And then we're going to add some foam tape behind there. This foam tape is pretty thin, and normally I would double it up to let the sequins move a little bit more freer, but sometimes I like when the sequins aren't that movable. They kind of stay in their place a little bit better. So I'm just going to leave it 1 layer for this card. And then you're just using the extra or the excess foam tape. I'm going to add it to my little cake there. Now I'm going to remove the backing, and then we need a sentiment. And I thought, well, I'm going to stamp the sentiment on the inside of the shaker. So for this sentiment, I decided to use the sentiment in the stamp set that says Treat Yourself. Just using my VersaFine ink, I'm going to stamp it towards the top on this white panel here. This is going to be the background for my shaker. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and add my sequins. And fill up that window, and then just place the backing on that window there. And there we have it. And you can see they don't move too much. I mean, they move a little bit, but kind of like that. Now I'm going to place this cake directly in the center of my shaker card. Now I was going to directly adhere that to the center of my black card base, but I thought it looked a little too boring. So I'm taking this striped pattern paper, and I'm going to place it at an angle and place that on my card base. And then it's directly on there. I'm just going to flip it over and trim off the excess. That way my stripes are at a diagonal, and I kind of like that. And then I'm going to place the shaker right in the center. And then that completes card number 9. I thought that was a fun little card. Okay, now for my final card today, I'm taking a circle die that fit this, the outline of that circle perfectly. And then I have the leftover piece of vellum from an earlier card. I have 2 flower dies from my stash. The sentiment that goes around that circle says "You belong among the flowers," and so I thought bringing in my flower dies would be perfect. I cut out a panel, and I'm going to place with the flower pattern paper, and I'm place that in the center of the chocolate brown cardstock that came in the kit. I'm placing the circle towards the bottom and then trimming off the excess. I'm going to trim down a little bit more. Originally I had used 2 different flower dies, but ended up just cutting the same flower out of the vellum and then the pattern paper. And I'm just going to layer them together in the center of that circle. And then using one of the buttons, I'm going to glue it down with a glue dot right in the center of my flowers. And then using the green and white baker's twine, I'm going to, kind of cheated with this button. I'm going to just place it in the center of that button with a glue dot. And that completes that card. Now here's a look at all 10 cards that I made today. I hope this gives you some inspiration. I'm not sure if the kits are available or not, but if they are still available, I'll leave links below to Lizzie's shop to where you can check everything out. I know add-ons are available for this kit. A lot of chipboard elements and 3D stickers. I think I'll leave those links below for you if you're interested as well. I thank you so much for stopping by, guys. I hope this gives you some ideas on how to use Lizzie's kits. Your kits should be on your way to you, or if you don't have them already. But thanks so much for stopping by, and we will see you again real soon. Bye-bye.